Imagine settling into your quiet retirement, dreaming of endless days spent tinkering with your classic car, a true labor of love. Now picture a neighborhood busybody, armed with obscure HOA rules, turning your passion into a daily penalty. What would you do when faced with relentless fines and a battle you never asked for? Most people would give up, but not this Marine. He turned a petty grievance into a community phenomenon and his neighbor's worst nightmare. Before we carry on, please hit the subscribe button to make my day and let me know where you are watching from in the comments. The rumble of the 1967 Mustang's engine was more than just a sound to me. Tommy Quinn. It was a symphony, a chorus of meticulously restored parts singing in perfect harmony. Every bolt, every inch of polished chrome, every stitch in the pristine black leather interior represented countless hours of sweat, grease, and an almost obsessive devotion. This wasn't just a car, it was a piece of my soul, a tangible link to a simpler time, a dream nurtured through decades of military service. After 25 years as a Marine, traversing dusty landscapes and navigating complex geopolitical terrains, the quiet predictability of suburban life in Maple Creek Estates felt like a well-earned reprieve. My retirement plan was simple: enjoy my grandkids, perfect my golf swing, and spend long, unhurried afternoons with my vintage beauty. I had bought the Mustang nearly a decade ago, a rust-eaten hulk of American muscle, a forgotten relic in a dusty barn in rural Georgia. It had been a project, a challenge that consumed my off-duty hours, a meticulous resurrection from decay. My hands, calloused from rifle grips and parade ground drills, found a different kind of precision in wrenching nuts and buffing paint. When I finally parked it, gleaming like a polished obsidian stallion, in my freshly paved driveway, I felt a deep sense of accomplishment, a quiet pride. The sunlight caught its curves, making the black paint shimmer, a bold statement against the manicured lawns and pastel-colored houses of the neighborhood. My house, a modest but comfortable ranch, sat on a corner lot, offering a bit more breathing room than some of the other properties in the development. The driveway was ample, easily accommodating the Mustang without obstructing the sidewalk or street. I figured it was the perfect display spot, a subtle nod to classic American automotive artistry. I imagined the occasional appreciative glance from passers-by, perhaps a friendly wave from a fellow enthusiast. I was wrong. Terribly, spectacularly wrong. The first notice arrived a week later, tucked neatly under the Mustang's wiper blade. It was an official-looking document, crisp white paper, bold black font, adorned with the imposing logo of the Maple Creek Estates Homeowners Association. My brow furrowed as I read it, a growing sense of bewilderment giving way to irritation. The notice stated, in no uncertain terms, that my vehicle, a non-modern display unit, was in violation of Article 7, Section 3B of the HOA Covenants, which apparently prohibited the dasher display of vehicles inconsistent with the aesthetic standards of the community. It cited a daily fine of $50 until the infraction was remedied. My first reaction was a snort of disbelief. Non-modern vehicle display? I muttered to myself, rereading the absurd phrasing. This wasn't some junkyard relic. It was a show car, a piece of automotive history lovingly restored. I looked around the pristine neighborhood, at the identical SUVs and bland sedans that lined every driveway. Aesthetic standards, I scoffed, the words tasting like stale bread. It was conformity, pure and simple. My irritation quickly morphed into a familiar Marine stubbornness. I wasn't about to be dictated to by some faceless HOA bureaucracy about my personal property, especially my Mustang. I tucked the notice into my back pocket, a spark of defiance igniting within me. This was just the opening salvo in what I instinctively knew would be a ridiculous yet unavoidable skirmish. The next day, a similar notice appeared, and the next. The fines began to accrue, a steady, irritating drip, drip, drip of petty tyranny. I knew who was behind it, of course. Karen Bishop. Her name, in bold, officious script, adorned the bottom of every notice as HOA president. Karen, with her meticulously coiffed blonde bob, her perfectly tailored pastel pantsuits, and her perpetually pursed lips, was the self-appointed guardian of Maple Creek Estate's aesthetic integrity. She lived 2 houses down, directly across from the vacant lot that abutted my property, and her sharp, judgmental gaze missed nothing. I had seen her observing the Mustang with a look of barely concealed disapproval from her manicured porch on several occasions. She was a woman who thrived on control, on rules, on the meticulous enforcement of conformity. And my defiant, gleaming Mustang was a glaring anomaly in her perfectly ordered world. I decided to address it head-on, Marine style. I wasn't one to shy away from a confrontation, especially when I knew I was in the right. I walked over to her house one afternoon, the stack of accumulating fines tucked under my arm. Her perfectly symmetrical rose bushes seemed to stand at attention as I approached her front door, which, predictably, was painted a tasteful, non-offensive shade of taupe. Karen answered the door, her smile, usually a tight, polite grimace, faltering slightly as she saw me. "Mr. Quinn," she began, her voice brittle. "To what do I owe this visit?" "Mrs. Bishop," I replied, my voice calm, even, reflecting years of holding my composure under pressure. "I believe you're familiar with these." I held up the stack of notices. $50 a day for my Mustang? Really? Her lips pursed tighter. "Mr. Quinn, the HOA covenants are quite clear. Article 7, Section 3B, specifically. We strive to maintain a cohesive, modern aesthetic in Maple Creek Estates. A vehicle of that vintage, parked prominently in your driveway, frankly, detracts from the property values and the overall visual harmony of the community." She spoke in a clipped, authoritative tone, as if reciting from a prepared script. "Visual harmony?" I scoffed, a genuine laugh escaping me despite my rising annoyance. "It's a classic car, Mrs. Bishop. A piece of American history. It's pristine. It's beautiful. It's not a broken-down jalopy." "Beauty is subjective, Mr. Quinn," she countered, her eyes narrowing. "Rules are not. The board has deliberated on this. The fines will continue to accrue until the vehicle is moved to a suitable, non-visible location, such as a garage. My garage, a modest 2-car unit, already housed my daily driver and a workbench filled with tools. The Mustang simply wouldn't fit comfortably without extensive reorganization, and frankly, I didn't want to hide it away like some dirty secret. It was meant to be seen, to be appreciated. "So, you're telling me," I said, my voice dropping to a low, dangerous growl, "that I'm going to be fined daily for parking my own, perfectly legal, meticulously restored vehicle in my own driveway?" "That is correct, Mr. Quinn," Karen replied, her chin lifting defiantly. "We uphold the standards of this community." I looked at her, truly looked at her, at the self-importance radiating from her, the unyielding rigidity of her posture. This wasn't about aesthetics. This was about control. This was about flexing her minuscule HOA power, making sure everyone knew who ran the show. And in that moment, a slow, exhilarating spark of an idea began to flicker in the back of my mind. It was audacious. It was risky. And it was pure, unadulterated marine ingenuity. "Very well, Mrs. Bishop," I said, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touching my lips. "Consider this my formal acknowledgement. You've made your position clear. And I believe I've made mine." I turned and walked away, leaving her standing on her porch, a bewildered frown on her perfectly powdered face. She had no idea what storm she had just unleashed. The Mustang, my quiet symbol of personal freedom, was about to become something much, much bigger. The confrontation with Karen Bishop though outwardly civil, had ignited a slow-burning fire within me. Her smug certainty, her unyielding adherence to absurd rules, had pushed me past mere irritation into a realm of determined action. The fines continued to pile up, little yellow slips accumulating like autumn leaves under the Mustang's wipers, each one a daily reminder of her petty tyranny. I paid them, of course, a calculated investment in my burgeoning plan. Every dollar sent to the HOA was a silent declaration of war, a fuel for the strategic counteroffensive brewing in my mind. My first step was research. I was a Marine after all, and reconnaissance was ingrained in my very being. I spent hours poring over the Maple Creek Estate's HOA covenants, every convoluted clause, every seemingly innocuous footnote. I highlighted sections, cross-referenced definitions, and scoured for loopholes. My initial assumption about non-modern vehicle display being a broad subjective term proved frustratingly accurate. It was designed to be vague, to grant the HOA, and by extension, Karen, maximum discretionary power. My Mustang, in its glorious vintage splendor, was indeed a glaring target for their aesthetic standards. However, my digging also led me down a different path: property deeds and zoning laws. My corner lot, while comfortable, wasn't enough to execute the vision forming in my mind. But right next door, a sprawling, overgrown empty lot sat neglected, a forgotten patch of wilderness in an otherwise meticulously manicured community. It was a visual blight, even Karen couldn't deny that, a tangled mess of weeds and scridly bushes. I had often wondered why it had never been developed. Now, I felt a surge of intuition. A quick search on the county assessor's website confirmed my suspicions. The lot was privately owned, and interestingly, listed as vacant and unzoned for specific residential use within the HOA's direct jurisdiction, though it abutted the community's boundary. It was a remnant of an older subdivision plan, deemed unsuitable for residential construction due to unusual setback requirements and drainage issues. It had languished on the market for years, an overlooked anomaly. And, critically, it was up for sale. My heart gave a little jolt. This was it. The key to my audacious plan. Karen Bishop wanted my Mustang gone from my driveway? Fine. I'd move it. But I wouldn't hide it. I'd put it on display in a way she could never, ever control. I envisioned a space, not just for my Mustang, but for others, a vibrant hub of automotive passion that would unapologetically defy her narrow definition of aesthetic harmony. The next few weeks were a flurry of covert activity. I contacted a real estate agent specializing in unique land sales, maintaining a low profile, not wanting to tip off Karen or the HOA. I negotiated fiercely, drawing on years of military-grade logistical planning and a surprising knack for business developed during my retirement. The owner, a distant holding company weary of the property's stagnant status, was eager to offload it. The price was substantial, nearly $750,000, a significant chunk of my retirement savings, but I saw it as an investment in something far more valuable than financial returns: freedom, community, and sweet, sweet revenge. The deal closed quietly, the paperwork handled by a discreet law firm that specialized in property acquisitions. My name, Thomas Quinn, was now listed as the sole owner of the formerly vacant lot next to my house. Karen, bless her meticulously ironed heart, remained blissfully unaware. She continued to send her fines, her petty little acts of power, completely oblivious to the impending storm. With the land secured, my next move was crucial: permits. This was where the real challenge lay. Turning a vacant lot into a public event space was no small feat. I spent days poring over local zoning ordinances, environmental regulations, and business licensing requirements. I met with city planners, county commissioners, and even the mayor's office, presenting my vision with the precision and persuasive power of a Marine briefing his commanding officer. I didn't try to hide my intentions. "I want to create a space for classic car enthusiasts," I explained to a skeptical city planner, a young woman named Sarah Chen, whose initial expression was one of polite disbelief. "A community gathering point, a place where people can appreciate automotive history, showcase their restorations, and connect with like-minded individuals." I laid out my plans meticulously, clearly defined parking areas, a designated space for food trucks, portable restroom facilities, adequate lighting, and robust security measures. I emphasized the charitable aspect, proposing that a portion of any proceeds from vendor fees would go to local schools, a detail that immediately softened Sarah's skepticism. I highlighted the potential for local tourism, drawing in visitors from neighboring towns, bringing revenue to small businesses. I even cited the potential for STEM education, offering hands-on opportunities for young people to learn about automotive mechanics and engineering. Sarah Chen, initially wary of my audacious proposal, slowly began to see the potential. She was a pragmatist, seeing the benefits for the city, the positive community engagement. Her questions became less about why and more about how. She guided me through the labyrinthine bureaucratic process, offering invaluable advice, helping me navigate the complexities of permits and inspections. I learned that she, too, had a hidden passion for classic cars, a vintage Volkswagen Beetle that she tinkered with on weekends. That common ground, unspoken but understood, helped immensely. The local permit for a community event space and recreational vehicle display area was eventually granted. It took months, countless meetings, and reams of paperwork, but I prevailed. The final signature on the last document felt more satisfying than any military commendation. I held the permit in my hand, a simple piece of paper that represented months of meticulous planning, a considerable financial investment, and the unwavering conviction that I was doing something truly worthwhile, something that would bring joy to others, and incidentally, drive Karen Bishop absolutely mad. I named the lot Mustang Alley. It was a fitting tribute to the vehicle that had started this absurd war, and a clear declaration of its new purpose. The land, once an unsightly mess, was quickly transformed. I hired a local landscaping crew to clear the weeds, level the ground, and lay down gravel. I installed discreet lighting, erected tasteful, low-profile fencing, and even built a small open-air pavilion for future events. The transformation was dramatic, turning a forgotten patch of earth into a vibrant, welcoming space. The day before the inaugural Mustang Alley Classic Car Show, I parked my 1967 Mustang, not in my driveway, but front and center in the newly designated display area on my very own, very legal, very permitted lot. It gleamed under the afternoon sun, a silent, defiant beacon. I watched from my porch, a cup of coffee in hand, waiting. I didn't have to wait long. Karen Bishop, impeccably dressed as always, emerged from her house, her daily constitutional walk taking her past my property. Her head, usually held high, snapped to attention as she saw the transformed lot, the freshly laid gravel, the pristine pavilion, and then, her gaze fixated on my Mustang, parked squarely in the middle of it all. Her jaw went slack. Her perfectly manicured hand flew to her mouth. Her eyes, usually so sharp and critical, widened in utter disbelief, then narrowed in a slow, dawning comprehension. I watched her, a slow, triumphant smile spreading across my face. The war, it seemed, was about to go public, and I had just deployed my heaviest artillery. The morning of the inaugural Mustang Alley Classic Car Show dawned crisp and clear, a perfect canvas for the vibrant spectacle that was about to unfold. A nervous energy hummed through me, a familiar pre-mission jitters, but this time it was laced with exhilaration rather than apprehension. I had meticulously planned every detail, from the layout of the cars to the logistics of parking for visitors. But the true success hinged on one crucial element: the community. Would they come? Would my audacious act of defiance resonate beyond my personal vendetta with Karen? I had spread the word through local car clubs, online forums, and a few strategically placed flyers at auto parts stores. The response had been encouraging, a steady stream of inquiries, but you never truly knew until the rubber met the road, so to speak. By 8 o'clock, an hour before the official opening, the first cars began to arrive, their engines rumbling softly, their chrome glinting under the rising sun. A meticulously restored 1969 Camaro idled slowly, its owner, a grizzled old-timer with a friendly smile, giving me a thumbs up. Then came a gleaming 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air, its two-tone paint job a nostalgic nod to mid-century Americana. More cars followed, a kaleidoscope of vintage automotive artistry: Ford Fairlanes, Pontiac GTOs, Dodge Challengers, even a quirky, impeccably maintained Volkswagen bus that instantly brought a bell smile to my face. The lot, once a neglected patch of weeds, was slowly transforming into a vibrant tapestry of automotive history, each vehicle a testament to passion and dedication. I directed traffic, greeted owners, and absorbed the rising tide of excitement. The smell of exhaust fumes, a familiar comfort, mingled with the fresh morning air. The owners, a diverse group of enthusiasts ranging from teenagers to retirees, exchanged stories, shared tips, and admired each other's prized possessions. It was exactly what I had envisioned, a community united by a shared love for classic cars. Then, the crowds started to arrive. First, a trickle of curious neighbors, then families pushing strollers, groups of friends armed with cameras, and even a few serious collectors, their eyes gleaming with appreciation. They streamed into Mustang Alley, their footsteps crunching on the fresh gravel, their voices rising in a joyful murmur of admiration and discovery. The lot, which had felt so vast and empty just weeks ago, was now bustling with life, a vibrant hub of activity. My personal satisfaction, however, reached its peak when I saw the food trucks rolling in. I had made arrangements with a few local vendors, offering them prime spots in exchange for a small percentage of their sales, which would be donated to the Underprivileged Schools Fund, just as I had promised the buy. City planner. The aroma of sizzling burgers, freshly brewed coffee, and sweet pastries wafted through the air, adding another layer to the sensory feast. Kids chased each other, laughing, clutching ice cream cones. Families spread out picnic blankets on the grassy areas I had deliberately left untended around the edges of the gravel lot. It was more than a car show, it was a full-fledged community festival. By noon, Mustang Alley was packed. Cars lined the streets outside, as far as the eye could see. The local news crew, alerted by Sarah Chen, who had become an unlikely ally, arrived with cameras rolling, interviewing enthusiastic car owners and delighted visitors. I even caught a glimpse of myself, briefly, on a live feed playing on someone's phone, articulating my vision for the event, my voice steady, betraying none of the internal satisfaction simmering beneath. "This is incredible, Mr. Quinn," Sarah Chen exclaimed, her face alight with excitement as she walked up to me, a small notepad in her hand. "The turnout is amazing! I've never seen anything like it in Maple Creek Estates. You've truly created something special here." I smiled, a genuine, unforced expression. "It's all about community, Sarah, and passion. People just needed a place to connect." Her gaze drifted towards Karen Bishop's house, which, predictably, stood with its blinds drawn, a fortress of silent, seething disapproval. "I imagine some people are less than thrilled," she murmured, a knowing twinkle in her eye. I chuckled. "Some people thrive on control, and when that control is challenged, they tend to get uncomfortable." And then, as if on cue, the source of Karen's discomfort made her appearance. The front door of her house opened a crack, and then fully, revealing Karen herself, standing on her porch, her perfectly sculpted hair slightly askew, her face a mask of profound disbelief and barely contained fury. She stared at the teeming crowds, the brightly colored cars, the bustling food trucks, the news cameras, the sheer, undeniable vibrancy that had exploded on what was once her quiet, controlled street. Her mouth opened and closed, no sound emerging, as if she were a fish gasping for air. Her eyes, usually so sharp or wide, unfocused, overwhelmed by the joyous chaos that had utterly consumed her meticulously ordered world. I met her gaze across the expanse of the now public street, a silent, triumphant stare-down. I didn't gloat, not outwardly, but the satisfaction was immense, a deep, resonant hum in my very core. She had tried to find my passion into submission. Instead, I had bought the land next door, obtained the permits, and turned her quiet neighborhood into a monthly celebration of automotive freedom. She couldn't stop it. The crowds were too large, the local support too overwhelming, the news coverage too positive. My Mustang, once her personal affront, was now the catalyst for a community event, a magnet for hundreds, perhaps thousands, of appreciative eyes. The subtle shift in power, the delicious irony of the situation, was not lost on me. Karen, the self-appointed queen of conformity, was now forced to live next to a thriving, boisterous monthly car show, a constant, vibrant reminder of her petty regulations and my indomitable spirit. Her quiet neighborhood was anything but quiet now. Every third Saturday of the month, starting today, Maple Creek Estates would hum with the sound of classic engines, the laughter of children, and the joyful camaraderie of enthusiasts. And it was all thanks to her, my very own HOA Karen. The game, it seemed, had only just begun. And I, Tommy Quinn, the retired Marine, was just getting started. The first Mustang Alley Classic Car Show was an undeniable, resounding success. The cheers from the crowd as the news crew wrapped up their live segment, the lingering scent of barbecue and freshly brewed coffee, the heartfelt thanks from the food truck owners, and the genuine appreciation from the car enthusiasts, all combined to create an intoxicating sense of triumph. As the last of the cars rumbled away and the final food truck packed up, leaving behind only the gentle hum of the streetlights and the faint echo of laughter, I stood in the middle of Mustang Alley, a quiet satisfaction settling deep within me. This wasn't just revenge. It was creation. I had built something tangible, something that brought joy, something that fostered connection. The next morning, the local newspaper featured a glowing article about the event, complete with a large photograph of my gleaming Mustang, center stage, and a quote from me about the power of community. The headline read, "Classic Cars Rev Up Community Spirit in Maple Creek Estates." There was no mention of HOA disputes, no hint of the underlying tension. It was pure, positive press, a testament to the undeniable success of the inaugural show. I imagined Karen Bishop choking on her morning coffee, her perfectly manicured hands trembling as she read it. The thought brought a small, grim smile to my lips. Karen, predictably, did not remain silent. The very next day, a formal letter arrived from the HOA's legal counsel, delivered via certified mail. It wasn't a fine, not yet. It was a lengthy, convoluted document raising concerns about noise ordinances, traffic congestion, public safety hazards, and environmental impact related to the unscheduled public gatherings on my property. It was a thinly veiled threat, a preliminary salvo in her renewed attempts to shut me down. Her persistence, though irritating, was also oddly predictable. She was, after all, a creature of habit, and her habit was control. I wasn't surprised. I had anticipated this escalation. My years in the Marines had taught me the importance of anticipating the enemy's next move, of never underestimating an opponent, no matter how petty. I immediately contacted Sarah Chen, the city planner, who had proven to be a valuable, if unofficial, ally. "They're trying to shut me down, aren't they?" I said, my voice calm, as I summarized the legal letter. Sarah sighed. "I expected as much, Mr. Quinn. The HOA has a powerful lobby, and Karen Bishop is relentless. But you have your permits. You're operating within the legal framework. It's mostly just saber-rattling." "Mostly," I echoed. "But I don't want to leave any room for them to wiggle." Sarah advised me to meticulously document everything: traffic flow, noise levels. She even lent me a decibel meter, waste management, and security protocols. She also suggested inviting local council members, the mayor, and even the police chief to future events, turning them into official community outreach opportunities. The more public support I garnered, the harder it would be for the HOA to justify their complaints. It was a brilliant strategy, turning public scrutiny into my strongest shield. The next month, leading up to the second Mustang Alley Classic Car Show, I implemented Sarah's suggestions with military precision. I hired a small, discreet security team, off-duty police officers, to manage traffic and ensure public safety. I collaborated with the food truck owners to ensure proper waste disposal and recycling. I even invested in sound-dampening barriers, a subtle concession to potential noise complaints, purely as a preemptive measure, not an admission of guilt. I also reached out to the local schools, the beneficiaries of the charity funds, offering them a visible presence at the car shows. Teachers set up booths, showcasing student projects related to automotive design or engineering, transforming the event into an educational opportunity. The children, excited to see their work on display, became enthusiastic ambassadors for Mustang Alley, their bright faces and eager chatter melting away any lingering skepticism from community members. The second car show was even larger, drawing crowds from across the county. The local mayor, a genial man named Mayor Thompson, made a surprise appearance, delivering a short, impromptu speech, praising Mr. Quinn's exemplary community spirit and the innovative use of urban space. "Oh," the police chief, a no-nonsense woman named Chief Miller, quietly observed the traffic flow, nodding approvingly at the efficient management. The positive press continued, with regional newspapers and even a statewide automotive magazine featuring articles about the burgeoning classic car hub in Maple Creek Estates. Karen Bishop's response was swift and predictable. She filed a formal complaint with the city, alleging gross negligence and public nuisance. But her efforts were met with polite yet firm resistance from city officials. Mayor Thompson, armed with positive press clippings and glowing reports from his own staff, including Sarah Chen, dismissed her complaints, citing the event's compliance with all permits and its undeniable benefit to the community. He even subtly suggested that perhaps the HOA might consider embracing such positive initiatives rather than actively hindering them. It was a public slap on the wrist, a small but satisfying victory. Her desperation escalating, Karen then tried a new tactic. She organized a concerned residents meeting, ostensibly to discuss preserving the peace and tranquility of Maple Creek Estates. I heard about it through the grapevine, of course. I didn't attend, but I made sure that several of my most enthusiastic volunteers, all longtime residents of the neighborhood, did. They calmly and respectfully countered her exaggerated claims of noise and chaos, presenting their own positive experiences, highlighting the community benefits, and subtly undermining her authority. The meeting, which Karen had hoped would be a rallying cry against me, instead turned into a platform for showcasing the widespread support for Mustang Alley. The silent war continued, but the tide had irrevocably turned. Karen, once the undisputed monarch of HOA rules, was now seen by many as a bitter, isolated figure, consumed by petty grievances, fighting against a positive tide of community engagement. Her attempts to shut me down were increasingly met with eye rolls and weary sighs from her fellow residents. Her power was eroding, chipped away by every classic car that rolled into Mustang Alley, by every child's laughter, by every positive news report. My own internal landscape had shifted dramatically. The initial spark of revenge, while still a faint ember, was largely overshadowed by the profound satisfaction of creation. I was no longer just fighting Karen. I was building something meaningful, something that brought people together. My retirement, once envisioned as quiet solitude, was now filled with purpose, with unexpected friendships, and with the joyful hum of classic engines. As the third monthly show approached, I felt a quiet anticipation, free from the initial jitters. I knew the crowds would come. I knew the cars would fill Mustang Alley with their vibrant energy. And I knew that Karen Bishop, from behind her drawn blinds, would be watching, her fury intensifying with every passing moment, a testament to my unwavering resolve and the undeniable success of my unexpected community project. The Mustang, my beloved 1967, was more than just a car. It was a symbol, not just of defiance, but of the power of passion, community, and the surprising ways in which a little bit of petty bilbao tyranny can inadvertently spark something truly remarkable. The third Saturday of the month arrived, and with it, the now familiar hum of anticipation that preceded the Mustang Alley Classic Car Show. The transformation of the vacant lot was complete, a vibrant, meticulously organized space that felt less like a temporary event venue and more like a permanent fixture of the neighborhood. The gravel shimmered under the morning sun, freshly raked and pristine. The pavilion offered a welcoming shade, and the subtle scent of blooming jasmine from the newly planted bushes along the perimeter added a touch of unexpected serenity. I stood by the entrance, a comfortable presence now, exchanging knowing nods with early arrivals, the loyal contingent of classic car owners who had become, in a short span, a tight-knit community. The familiar faces, the shared passion, the easy camaraderie, all contributed to a profound sense of belonging that I hadn't felt since my Marine days. It was a different kind of brotherhood, forged not in combat, but in chrome and horsepower. Karen Bishop, however, remained an unyielding force of negativity. Her latest tactic, delivered through a passive-aggressive email to the entire HOA mailing list, suggested that certain residents were disregarding community harmony by creating excessive noise and disruption, and implying a subtle threat of future assessments for noise mitigation. It was vague, unsubstantiated, and entirely characteristic of her. I simply forwarded it to Sarah Chen, who advised me to ignore it. The sheer popularity of Mustang Alley had effectively rendered Karen's complaints impotent. She was losing her grip, and she knew it. This particular show held a special significance. I had quietly extended an invitation to Arthur Hayes, a legendary figure in the classic car restoration world, a man whose work was revered by enthusiasts across the country. He was known for his meticulous craftsmanship, his encyclopedic knowledge, and his discerning eye. Having him attend would not only elevate Mustang Alley's reputation, but also serve as a powerful endorsement, further solidifying its legitimacy. As the morning progressed, the lot filled rapidly. The array of cars was more diverse than ever, a stunning display of automotive history. I spotted a rare Shelby Cobra, its sleek lines radiating raw power, and a meticulously restored Ford Model A, a charming testament to early 20th century engineering. The air was thick with the scent of popcorn and roasting coffee, mingling with the faint, nostalgic aroma of gasoline and polished metal. The laughter of children playing in the designated Kids Zone, a small, supervised area I had set up with coloring stations and miniature car models, provided a joyful counterpoint to the deep rumble of engines. Then, a hush fell over a section of the crowd as a sleek, almost impossibly beautiful 1955 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing glided slowly into the alley. Its silver body gleamed, its distinctive upward swinging doors already a magnet for curious onlookers. Behind the wheel, a distinguished gentleman, his silver hair neatly combed, his eyes sparkling with a quiet enthusiasm, offered a subtle wave. It was Arthur Hayes. I walked over to greet him, a profound sense of accomplishment swelling within me. "Mr. Hayes, it's an honor to have you here," I said, extending my hand. He shook it warmly, his grip firm. "The honor is all mine, Mr. Quinn. I've been reading about Mustang Alley. Frankly, I was skeptical. A classic car show in a suburban neighborhood? But what you've created here, it's truly remarkable. A genuine hub for enthusiasts. A labor of love, clearly." His gaze swept over the bustling crowd, the vibrant display of cars. "It started with a love for one car," I admitted, gesturing towards my Mustang, which stood proudly nearby. "And a bit of stubbornness, I suppose?" Hayes chuckled, a deep, resonant sound. "Stubbornness can be a powerful motivator. But passion, Mr. Quinn, that's what sustains, and you have it in spades. I'm genuinely impressed." He spent the rest of the morning moving through the crowd, engaging with car owners, offering insightful comments, his presence lending an undeniable air of prestige to the event. Local news crews, anticipating his arrival, once again flocked to Mustang Alley, capturing his glowing endorsement on camera. Karen Bishop's house remained stubbornly closed, its blinds drawn tight, a silent protest against the joyous cacophony unfolding next door. I imagined her inside, pacing her perfectly sanitized floors, her hands clenching and unclenching, her frustration a palpable entity radiating through the walls. Her quiet neighborhood was anything but. The cheers, the laughter, the vibrant music from the food trucks, the constant stream of visitors, all served as a relentless auditory reminder of her utter defeat. The pinnacle of the day came during a brief, impromptu, People's Choice award ceremony. There were no formal trophies, just a simple hand-painted plaque for the most admired car. As I stood on the small pavilion, microphone in hand, preparing to announce the winner, I noticed a subtle shift in the crowd's energy. A group of kids, including my own 2 grandkids, their faces beaming with mischief, began to chant softly. The chant grew, spreading through the crowd, a playful yet utterly defiant chorus. "Mustang! Mustang! Mustang!" A wide grin spread across my face. My own 1967 Mustang, the source of Karen's initial fine, the catalyst for this entire improbable journey, was clearly the crowd favorite. As I called out its name, the crowd erupted in cheers and applause, a resounding validation of not just the car, but of the spirit of defiance and community it now represented. I walked over to my car, placed the hand-painted plaque on its hood, and gave it a gentle pat, a silent thank you to the inanimate object that had changed my retirement in such unexpected, profound ways. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues, the crowd slowly began to disperse, the roar of engines echoing as they departed. The quiet satisfaction that settled over Mustang Alley was profound. It wasn't just a car show anymore. It was a beacon, a symbol of what could happen when petty tyranny met unwavering passion. I walked over to the edge of Mustang Alley, my gaze drifting towards Karen Bishop's house. The blinds remained drawn, a fortress of solitude in a now bustling, vibrant neighborhood. I knew she was watching, seething with impotent rage. Her desire for control, for conformity, had been utterly thwarted, replaced by a thriving, vibrant community event that brought joy to hundreds. My 1967 Mustang, once deemed a non-modern display unit, worthy of daily finds, now stood as the triumphant symbol of a community united, a testament to the fact that some rules were simply meant to be challenged, and some battles, however petty they seemed, could lead to unexpected, glorious victories. And the third Saturday of every month, Maple Creek Estates would be a noisy, joyful, unapologetic reminder of that very truth. My retirement, once quiet and predictable, was now anything but. And I wouldn't have it any other way. The success of Mustang Alley continued to grow with each passing month, establishing itself as a beloved fixture in the local community. The third Saturday of the month transformed Maple Creek Estates into a vibrant hub, drawing car enthusiasts, families, and curious onlookers from far beyond the neighborhood's boundaries. The flow of visitors became a predictable rhythm, a delightful counterpoint to the quiet residential streets. My role, too, had evolved. I was no longer just the proud owner of a classic Mustang. I was the de facto organizer, the benevolent ringleader of this burgeoning automotive circus. My days were now filled with planning logistics, coordinating with food truck vendors, inviting guest speakers from the automotive industry, and fielding inquiries from car clubs eager to participate. It was a demanding, yet incredibly rewarding, new chapter in my retirement, far more fulfilling than the quiet solitude I had initially envisioned. Karen Bishop, however, remained an unyielding thorn in my side, her efforts to undermine Mustang Alley becoming increasingly desperate and, frankly, comical. Her initial legal threats had fizzled out, met with a barrage of positive city reviews and community endorsements. Her attempts to rally the neighborhood against me had backfired, turning her into a figure of mild ridicule rather than a respected authority. Her latest tactic involved a flurry of official-looking letters sent to individual car owners who attended Mustang Alley, citing obscure HOA bylaws about commercial activity and excessive vehicle congregation near residential areas. These letters, of course, held no legal weight outside the HOA's direct jurisdiction, which Mustang Alley was not a part of. The car owners, mostly experienced classic car show attendees, simply laughed them off, often forwarding them to me as a running joke. I compiled them, a growing dossier of Karen's impotent fury, a silent testament to her unwavering, yet utterly futile, attempts to regain control. One blustery morning, a few days before the fourth monthly show, I received an official notification from the city. The Maple Creek Estates HOA had filed a formal petition to rezone my property, Mustang Alley, from community event space back to residential or undeveloped parkland. This was a serious escalation, a direct attempt to revoke my permit and effectively shut down the show. This wasn't just petty, it was a calculated, expensive legal maneuver. Karen, clearly, was pulling out all the stops, leveraging the HOA's financial resources in a last-ditch effort to reclaim her perceived control. My easygoing demeanor hardened. This was a direct attack, a blatant abuse of power. I immediately contacted my lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Brenda Rodriguez, who specialized in property law and community disputes. I also called Sarah Chin, the city planner, who expressed immediate concern. "This is a major move, Tommy," Brenda stated, her voice crisp and professional. "They're attempting to bypass the existing permits by changing the fundamental designation of your land. It's a long shot for them, given your existing permit and the public support, but it will be a fight. A public hearing will be required." I didn't flinch. "Then we fight. We have the community on our side. We have the mayor, the chief of police. We have a good cause. We have positive press. We'll show them what happens when you try to stifle something good." The news of the rezoning petition quickly spread throughout Maple Creek Estates and the wider community. Local news channels, always hungry for a compelling story, picked it up, framing it as a David and Goliath battle between a beloved community event and a zealous HOA. Support for Mustang Alley surged, even among residents who had previously been neutral. Petitions were signed, letters to the editor flooded local papers, and social media buzzed with impassioned defenses of Mustang Alley. It became a symbol of grassroots community spirit versus bureaucratic overreach. The public hearing was scheduled for a week before the fifth monthly show, held in the City Council chambers. The room was packed, overflowing with Mustang Alley supporters, a sea of friendly faces and supportive nods. Karen Bishop, flanked by the HOA's legal team, sat stiffly at the petitioner's table, her face a mask of resolute defiance, though I could detect a faint tremor in her hands. The hearing commenced, a tedious procession of legal arguments and procedural declarations. Karen's lawyer presented their case, attempting to paint Mustang Alley as a disruptive nuisance, a generator of noise and traffic that threatened the tranquil residential character of Maple Creek Estates. They presented exaggerated noise readings, which Sarah Chen quietly debunked with my meticulously documented data, and anecdotal complaints from a handful of unidentifiable, concerned residents. When it was my turn to speak, I didn't mince words. I addressed the council with the calm, authoritative voice of a Marine briefing his troops. I presented evidence of Mustang Alley's positive community impact, the significant funds raised for underprivileged schools, the educational opportunities for children, the boost to local businesses, widespread public support. I showed photographs of smiling families, of children eagerly engaging with classic cars, of enthusiastic crowds. "This isn't just about a car show," I stated, my voice resonating through the chambers. "This is about community. This is about allowing people to connect, to share their passions, to create something vibrant and positive. The Maple Creek Estates HOA, under Ms. Bishop's leadership, is attempting to stifle that. They are attempting to dictate how a private property owner operating cash, fully within legal bounds, can use his land, simply because it doesn't fit their narrow, restrictive definition of harmony. This is about control, not community." End quote. Then, a surprising voice spoke up from the audience. It was Mayor Thompson. He rose, his expression serious, and addressed the council directly. "Members of the council, I've personally attended Mustang Alley. I've seen the positive impact it has on our city. It's a vibrant, well-managed event that brings joy to hundreds and raises significant funds for a crucial cause. To rezone this property, to shut down this initiative, would be a disservice to our community, a blow to local businesses, and a frankly short-sighted decision. We should be encouraging such initiatives, not hindering them." His words, from the city's highest authority, carried immense weight. The council members, many of whom had also attended Mustang Alley and witnessed its popularity firsthand, exchanged knowing glances. The outcome was clear. After a brief deliberation, the council voted unanimously to deny the HOA's rezoning petition. The decision was met with a spontaneous burst of applause from the gallery, a collective sigh of relief and triumph. Karen Bishop's face, already pale, flushed a deep, angry red. Her shoulders slumped, and she looked utterly defeated, her legal team offering only platitudes. Her last, desperate gambit had failed. The silence in the council chambers, once broken by the applause, was now filled with the unspoken reality of her final, definitive loss. Her quiet neighborhood was truly a community event zone now, and there was absolutely nothing she could do about it. I walked out of the council chambers, a crowd of supporters congratulating me, shaking my hand, their faces beaming. Sarah Chen offered a triumphant smile and a warm handshake. "You did it, Tommy. You really did it." I nodded, a profound sense of closure settling over me. The war was over. The fines, the threats, the legal battles, all of it. It had been a long, arduous fight, but the victory tasted sweet, not just for me, but for the entire community. As I drove home, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows, I passed Karen Bishop's house. The blinds were drawn, as always, but now They seemed less like a fortress of silent protest and more like a symbol of self-imposed isolation. Her quiet neighborhood was anything but quiet. And every third Saturday, the joyous rumble of classic engines, the laughter of children, and the vibrant spirit of Mustang Alley would serve as a permanent, glorious reminder of that very truth. My Mustang, once a source of conflict, was now a symbol of unity, a testament to the power of a single, well-placed act of defiance. And my retirement? It was just beginning, and it was far more exciting than I ever could have imagined.